Okay, we're looking at dividing divisions of fractions. And the only thing we're going to go over today is the modeling or the pictures. That's all we're going to do today. So you should have out your sheet that looks like this. It's got the candy bar on the very first problem. And all you're going to do is follow along with me. Okay, so for number 1, it says Keisha has 4 chocolate bars. She offers each of her friends a half of a bar. So they have a picture for us here. And in my problem, it says we have 4 chocolate bars. This is what we have. And we get a picture here. She has 4 chocolate bars, whole chocolate bars. She offers each of her friends a half. Okay, so she offers each of her friends a half. Each is a key word that we've heard for a long time. It means to divide. Because we are giving something out evenly. They each get the same amount. We're dividing it up. We're giving each friend a half of a bar. Even if we don't have the word each, there's going to be some key words that tell us we are dividing. We often will see a situation where something is cut up. That would be dividing because we are dividing it up or cutting it up into equal pieces. We also see the word split. Like we could say for this one, we're splitting the candy bars up into equal pieces. Another one is when we share things. This one also could pertain because she's sharing her chocolate bars equally with friends. Okay, so we have 4 chocolate bars. She offers each of her friends half of a bar. Well, how would we draw that in our picture? Well, let's start with our first bar that they have. If I want to show half of the bar, we're taking this piece right here. This is a half of the bar. But I have a whole nother half right here. So with just one candy bar, I can give this to one friend and the other half to a second friend. She has a second candy bar. She wants to do the same thing. This would be half, and this would be half. So this could go to a third friend, and this piece could go to a fourth friend. But she's not done because she still has candy bars. Her third candy bar, she wants to give half and the other half. Well, now we're at 5 friends, 6 friends. But she's still not done because she has a fourth candy bar. So we're going to split that up or share it by giving half and another half. So that would be 6 friends and 8 friends. If she has 4 chocolate bars and she's going to share them or split them in half and give them to her friends, then she could give away half of a candy bar to 8 friends. The question says, which of the following could be used to determine the number of friends, so we want to make sure we're answering the question, that will receive chocolate. So we want to talk just about the friends that get the chocolate. So our answer choices. A says she has a fourth, but is that what our picture shows? Or is that what our question says? No, she had 4 chocolate bars, so that does not match. B says she has a half. Well, she doesn't have just a half. She has 4 whole chocolate bars, so that one would not work. C says she has 4 chocolate bars, which this one we agree with. She has 4 chocolate bars, and she's going to give each, or remember our keywords, cut, split, or for shares. So she's going to take her 4 and cut, split, share into those halves. That matches our picture because we cut each one into halves or split each one into halves. D says she has 2. Well, she doesn't have 2, she has 4, so that one would not be the correct answer. Your correct answer here of how to get there would be C, how to set it up. She has 4. She's going to cut it up or split it up or share it evenly, and she's going to cut it into halves to get our answer. So at the bottom, they asked us, Keisha will be able to give chocolate to how many friends? Well, remember we went and labeled at the top. We would be able to give, or she would be able to give, a half of the chocolate bar to 8 friends. Okay, let's look at number 2. Number 2 says Marcel has 3 feet of wood to make a project in industrial tech class. He needs to first cut the wood into 1/4 pieces. Okay, so our question says that he has 3 feet of wood. This is what he has. And we see the picture down here. So these are going to be 3 feet, but they obviously are in sections of a foot each. That's not very good wording because it makes it sound like there's just a solid piece of wood and it's 3 feet in length. When our picture really shows we have 3 feet separated. 1 foot, 1 foot, 1 foot. He needs to first cut the wood into 1/4 pieces. So here's that key word. Notice I don't see the word each that tells me division, but I do have those key words we talked about. I'm looking for something that's being cut or split, which the wood could be split as well, or shared. Any of those mean the same thing as division. So I have 3 feet of wood, and we're going to cut it up into 1/4 pieces. Well, how do we cut that rectangle into 4s? We just make cuts in it because we want 1/4. Each of these would be 1/4 of a piece once he cuts it. With our second section, do the same thing. We're cutting it into 4ths. Each of these little boxes, if we measured that wood, would be 1/4 of a foot. The last one, we're going to just do the same thing. We're cutting it up, and each of those would be 1/4 of a foot once they're cut up. Which of the following could be used to determine the number of pieces? Again, we want to make sure we're answering our question. They're asking us for number of pieces of wood. Well, I go back and look at my 1 foot is 1 piece of wood. He cut another one, that would give me a second piece of wood. He cut another, that'd give me third. He cut another, he'd give me, that's a 4th piece of wood. Then he goes on to a second foot. We cut another, now I have 5 pieces of wood. Keep going for 6, 7, 8. Our last section, he cut the same, so that would be a 9th piece of wood, 10th, 11th, and 12th piece of wood. So how many pieces of wood can Marcel cut from 3 feet? Well, he can cut, we would have 12 smaller pieces of wood that would each be 1/4 of a foot. But our answer choices are, how did we get there? How did we set it up? Okay, so remember, we're looking at what we have. Well, right here, he has 3 feet. So he has 3 feet. He cut, there's our key word, cut, which means he's dividing it up because it's in even pieces. And he cut it up into 1/4 of a foot pieces. And so I'm looking to match that with my answer choices. A shows he has 3. He's cutting it or splitting it into pieces that are 1/4 each. That one matches our information. B says he has 1/4 and he's cutting it up into 3s. Well, that wouldn't work. He doesn't have 1/4. C says he has 1/3 and he's cutting it up. Well, he didn't have 1/3. He had 3 whole pieces of wood, or 3 feet of wood. D says he has 4 whole pieces, or 4 feet of wood, and he's cutting up into 1/3 pieces. Well, he didn't have 4, he had 3. So our best answer here, how to solve, is A. Okay, the last one we're going to do is 3, and I want you to pause the video and try it on your own, then come back and check with me and see how you did. Okay, so number 3, you should have tried this one on your own just to see how you do with the pictures and matching it to the answer choices. This one says that Mrs. Flowers has 8 yards of ribbon to make bows for holiday wreaths. She needs 1/5 of a yard for each bow. So what I noticed first is has 8 yards of ribbon. This is what she has, or this is what she is going to start off with, 8 yards of ribbon. She's going to make bows. She needs 1/5 of a yard for each bow. Remember, each is a keyword that we've known for years that means division. If that wasn't there, we could also use our keywords, cut. If she has all these yards of ribbon, she's going to have to cut that portion off to make the bows. Or she might split it up or share. Well, for this one, cut would probably be most likely because she's probably going to cut it up with scissors. But each works because we know that's division. So here I have my 8, I'm not going to highlight all of them, that's going to take forever, but here's my 8 yards of ribbon. Okay, so they're cut up into, or they're not cut up, but they are sectioned into 1 yard each. That's the same issue with the wood up above. So she really has 8 yards total, but they're showing us in 1 yard sections. So each of those are a yard. She needs to cut it up into 1/5 of a yard for each bow. So how do we cut, if this is a yard, how do we cut it up into fifths? Well, just how we always cut up pictures to show a part. Now I have 1/5, mine aren't so even, sorry. These are each 1/5. And I would do the same thing here, cut it up, and each one is a 1/5. So every time I cut a 1/5 off, she can make a bow. Here's another 1/5. There's another bow. Another 1/5, another bow. So she can make a lot of bows here, and we keep going. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I cut that one right. And you just keep going on the bottom. Okay, so each of these would be labeled 1/5 because they're in 1/5 sections. And all of these show bows that she can make. whole thing should be labeled with fifths. And done. Okay. So we want to know which of the following could be used to determine the number of bows. Again, make sure we're answering the question. Number of bows. Well, how can I figure that out? Well, let's look back at our question. If just in 1 yard, how many bows can she make? Well, she can make one bow here. Here's my bow. Here's another bow. Here's another bow that she can make with the fabric. Here's another bow. They're trying to look like alien. But this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bows. Well, if I can make 5 bows out of the first yard, I can make 5 bows out of the second, and 5 out of the third, and all the way across. So if I'm looking for the number of total bows that she can make, it would be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. She can make 40 bows with 8 yards of ribbon. The last piece is we need to match our information with the answer choices of how to set it up. So remember, we go back to she has 8 yards. She is cutting it into fifths. Our each, though, also can tell us divisions. So 8, and we need each section to be a fifth. Either one would work. So I go to my answer choices. A says that I have a fifth. Well, I don't just have a fifth. I have 8 yards. That's not going to work. B says I have an 8th. Well, again, I don't have 1/8. I have 8 yards. C says I have 8 yards, and I'm dividing it up or cutting it up into 1/5 sections. Well, that's true. We sectioned it by fifths. D says I have 5. Well, I don't have 5. I have 8. So my best answer here would be C. So take the time for a minute and just, if you have any questions, write it down at the very bottom of your paper. Any questions, or even, are you seeing any patterns that would help us solve these questions? Tomorrow, bring this sheet. You do not need to do any more, just these 3 with the notes on the video. Bring this tomorrow. We'll go back over it and summarize and talk about any questions you may have, and then move on from there.